Kids Unplugged. That's the name of the show, Kids Unplugged. Is that your favorite thing? All right, ready?
What did I say? And this matches. What song you want me to sing?
Your most favorite song.
I have a lot of favorite songs.
King and Yates, they bridging the gap. From the US to Dubai, put pins on the map. Ball is life, and that's a fact. And a baller's life, about that exact. King and Yates, they bridging the gap. From the US to Dubai, put pins on the map. There's a time to score and a time to assist. Ain't no I in team, let the winning commence. From generation to generation, game don't stop. The new and old school got the game on lock. It's all legendary, it's all necessary. We all been all-stars before February. And after that, King and Yates, after racks. But really trying to get some wins, not just padding stats. Two basketball lovers through happenstance. Built a bond that lets a greatness.
BTG Nation. What is it, King?
Listen, they bridging the gap. They bridging the gap.
Hey, KG, talk to him again. BTG Nation. I know I said it might be a little while before we came back, but we got a special episode here today. It is towards the end of Ramadan too, and I think this is like a good capsule to it.
Sure.
And a good prelude to what the second half of the season for us on terms of who Mountain and BTG is going to look like. We got a special guest. We won't reveal yet, but OG, man, first, how you feeling? Because it's coming off spring break.
Man, you're supposed to come off spring break and be rested and ready to go. I'm exhausted. It seems like the whole time we were out, I was sick, still working, and I didn't get the full enjoyment of the break, man.
Man, yeah, and I ain't gonna hold you. I told y'all that I thought I would be back and be a father, a real father right now with like an actual person. Not yet. The wife, I think Jamila might be home right now, running up and downstairs trying to get the baby out. And she's sick and ready.
Yeah, she told me that. She said, "I'm ready."
She said she ready. She ready. So we still got some time. He's still baking. We almost got the name dropped down too. We're getting there.
You got 6 names, 7 names?
Nah, we ain't taking it there. They ain't taking it there. They told me that, you got to have his middle name got to be yours and this and that. I was like, that's too confusing. Because, my mom going to be like, look, what we doing?
Yeah, no, she going to be like, I know your mom. She going to be, I'm picking one, and that's the one I'm sticking with, whether y'all like it or not.
And if I don't like it, I'm going to give him a nickname.
Right.
Yeah, and so, but BTG Nation, we got a special guest here with us. And you guys have watched us grow. And we have always told you that the term and the name Bridging the Gap has so much meaning towards it. We're here showing you guys the complexity and the layers of us outside of just basketball, because we say basketball encompasses a culture that we're a part of. And as entrepreneurs as well, and then just as thought leaders. And so we've attracted different type of people to the podcast. Shout out to our former guests, Father Romy, Uncle Ro, Coach Jones, Coach Ivan Thomas, who is now at Georgetown.
Yeah.
We see you, OG, Aunt Lisa, my mom, and just the Coppin crew. It's just a heavy list. And really, you guys don't understand how impactful and how significant these guests are, because these are some really dynamic people.
Yep.
And so today, we have someone special who's been in Dubai longer than us, right? And who has a strong platform and a strong business mind and is geared towards the youth.
Okay.
And so that works right in line with us. And so we have Miss Anisa Ismail. You heard that? Ismail, you heard that?
That was good.
Yo, so first, check in, mental health, well-being, all that. How are you doing?
I'm good, honestly. It's like you said, the tail end of Ramadan, so I'm doing great.
Yes, and so just so you guys know, we're gonna drop off some titles here because we like people to kind of stretches stuff when you work hard.
For sure.
And so Miss Ismail is here as a digital well-being expert. We'll expand on that. She has her own online TV series, Kids Unplugged, and she's an author of a few books. Okay. And so she's going to be here with us. We're going to get into the bio and all the other different type of stuff, but we want to check in. Just let us know, how are you feeling? How is Dubai? You know, what's going on? What's new? What's shaking? Anything you seeing out here in the world that got you questioning stuff?
I mean, well, I do have to correct you a little bit.
Okay.
Abu Dhabi.
Oh, Abu Dhabi.
You know what it is? It's like I want to represent the UAE as a whole.
Okay.
So whenever people ask, like from outside, obviously you guys have listeners from America and different parts of the world. So yes, Dubai has been part of my journey, but Abu Dhabi is my home, and I just have to like clarify.
I'm glad you did that. Yeah.
Just because it's like true to like my journey.
Yeah.
But life in Abu Dhabi is amazing. Or life in the UAE has been amazing. I made the decision way before people thought it was cool to move here. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the fact that everyone sees it now. But when I first came out in 2011, it was like, what are you doing?
What was it that brought you out here the first time?
In all honesty, I'd never seen the Middle East. I hadn't come to the UAE or any of this like part of the world. And I knew I was in uni. We were just talking about how they don't like the word uni, but I was in my second year of university, and I just wanted to do something different. And when I was studying early childhood education at that time, and then when I was like looking, like for things to do outside of after I finish, I was like, I think I'm not supposed to just stay in London. I don't think London is the place for me, and it just sounded so bizarre to everybody around me. But I came out here. I cried the first 2 years, but I stuck it out, and it worked.
Now when you came,
Yeah.
you were going to university. I'm not saying uni. Did you come alone or anybody?
Yeah, by myself. I was 20 years old. I was 20 when I first came.
I got a lot of questions.
Yeah, I know.
Right. First, it's interesting because it's London.
Yeah.
You remember we had our London episode with Illy's dad.
Yep.
Okay.
And we had a breakdown of lingo and the food and what culture is in London. But Abu Dhabi, I'm glad she made sure to say she's from Abu Dhabi and not Dubai, because that's like the polar opposite.
Yeah.
Like the air is different.
Right.
Yeah.
In AD. Like AD is just, when we got here, you was like, man, that's my space. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And can you like depict what the difference is between AD and that? Because I'm staying in AD right now with the wife, preparing to give birth. And it's
different.
It's quiet.
Right. Yeah.
It's quiet.
Yeah, peace.
It's so
yeah,
peaceful.
yeah.
It's amazing. And so kind of what's
It's
that
so different.
lifestyle?
I mean, I grew up in London, like West London. I come from a huge family. There's 12 of us. So
okay.
So humongous family, noisy as And when I first moved to Abu Dhabi, I lived in where they now call Khalifa City B or C, whatever the letters are.
My wife lived in Khalifa City A.
There's more. There's B and C.
Crazy.
But back then it was pure desert. Like to go into the city was like a 45-minute drive, and it was such a stark difference. I lived in a compound area, and literally all I see is like sand around me, and there wasn't any people there that were speaking English. And so like as someone who is native English, and then my family speaks Somali and Arabic, I had to really remind myself of the language and like go deep into that, and really just kind of I have this personality where I'm like, if I'm going to do something, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm not gonna like go in there halfway. So I was like, give myself a year. And a year turned into 2. Then I got a really great job opportunity, and I had finished university at that time because I was doing both. I was still studying and then working abroad, and I stayed.
Yeah.
So
what London? Right. You said West London, and now is that where? Because we know there's different areas of London to where it's like a Pakistani community. There's like a Caribbean, because we've now been introduced to the British Jamaican mixture of kids, and so like, what's the West London? Can I go get food there, or am I getting gravy, fries, and peas?
West London is so diverse. Where I'm from, Ealing, it's so multicultural. There's people from Pakistan, India, Somalia, East Africans. It's such a great mix of people there. And I think that's why I was so comfortable to move abroad, because I grew up in an area where so many different people from different parts of the world that lived there. So, and we weren't so far from central London as well. So we'd always go in and out. But there are specific parts like North London where you would find, the Jamaicans and the Caribbeans and everything, and South London as well, which is a bit different. Yeah. But where I was from was very multicultural as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So tell us about the dangerous spots
of London.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I will say, like, this is my privilege talking. I didn't grow up in any danger. Okay. And this is and I want to say this like with like ease, because I feel like as a Black woman, I'm always kind of like, there's that thing where people are like, well, how did you grow up? I grew up as a child of an immigrant. My parents were refugees. Yeah. So it's like our struggle was so different. Yeah. Our parents wanted us to see what life would be on the other side of, like, not being in Africa, not being in Somalia, and running from the civil war and all the things that they had to do. So it was like my mom specifically, with all of her kids, like worked really hard to like give us and shield us. Yeah. Not even give us, shield us from the bad stuff. Like, she would actually spend most of the year saving money so that she could take us away for the summers, so we wouldn't have to stay in London for the summers. She would take us to different places. She would, after school, I'd go to, we'd go to madrasa, learn Arabic. Before school, I'd go to basketball camp. Like, my mom made sure we had something to do.
Give mom a shout out. Man, that's what I'm talking about.
She done got serious.
Listen.
So when I look back at it now, I'm like, we didn't really struggle. And I thank my mom for that. Genuinely thank my mom for that.
And you guys that have been listening, there's a reoccurring theme here for everybody that's come on, for everybody that's listened to us. The backbone of everything has been mom.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? It's mom. Right? It's backbone of Hoop Mountain. It's the backbone here, because my mom contributed to something here. Right. My wife has this, and my wife is a mom now too. And everything that's happened for us, whether as children and stuff, your moms are always there. Yeah. Right? And so having some respect there is important.
There wouldn't even be a Hoop Mountain Dubai without a mom.
Listen.
Dahlia's
right.
Dahlia for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
First,
it always goes there. That's the balance you need. That's why we always say that we need to have some type of women around in the business, absolutely. Right? Yeah. For certain type of eye, certain type of role, certain type of nurturing.
That intuition as well that women have.
Unreal. Unreal. Now, you talked about basketball in London, right? And I'm not gonna lie, right?
I was looking at Chris like, he's like, what basketball? What are you talking about?
We're not skipping over that. And so, quick backstory.
Yeah.
Anisa, I met her through Kenny.
Okay.
You guys know Kenny, friend of the show, friend of the situation. Yeah. And so Ken has been hitting me up for a while, because, behind the scenes, we're helping Ken trying to organize his business and stuff as well, because pretty much partner with him. And so he basically found his Omar. Times 10, because she has her own stuff too, right? Omar is a guy that saved our life here. Yeah. Omar is gangster. Hey, shout out to Omar. I know you're watching too. Shout out to you. I'll call you soon. And so Kenny was like, yo, she got this, that. And I'm seeing Kenny taking pictures of studios and doing, he said, yo, you got to link with her, because with all of us, we can really do something crazy here. And so I met her at Kenny's game. Okay.
So the first game I came to watch Ken play, because I've been so busy. And then he was like, oh, Ryan's going to be there as well. I was like, oh, okay, good.
And so I'm there, and she's walking, she talking, I'm asking her about the sport, and she was knowing a little something. Then she said she played basketball in London. And so immediately I was like, oh, when she get on the pod, we're going to test it out.
I knew he was going to say that. Like, I just knew it.
We're going to test it out on the pod.
But you didn't even let me finish, because I was going to say, like, what did I say in the beginning? I said, my mom put us in all these different things.
Oh, okay.
Right, there's a difference, right? It's like,
I didn't know what I was doing.
Am I still playing it today? No. Like, that wasn't our thing, but like, you could test it for sure.
Yeah,
everyone knows who they are, like, after school, like after you finish, like what your parents kind of put you in. And I think for me, I just wasn't the sports person in my family.
Yeah. But what does basketball teach you though? Well, it's hard for me to even ask, because we don't know who our teachers were.
That's a good question though. It did teach me a lot though. Okay. Like it gave me solid things to where I am right now in life. Like, it taught me discipline. That was the biggest thing because I was
My number one motto, right?
madly unruly. You know, I was really unruly. Discipline, just the perseverance. I was saying how, you know, I came here and I was like, stick it out. Where did I learn that? Like the amount of practices we went to practice at 7:30 in the morning. That's crazy. School didn't start until 8:45. So to have to get up and go to school for something you're not really, you know, so.
That's it. Because those days where you don't feel like working.
You still had to.
And those are the days that you make the biggest strides most times.
Yeah.
And you separate yourself. And so that's not too bad now. So where you stand at with basketball now?
I mean, I'm encouraging the kids to go.
Okay.
That's all we have.
Yeah,
That's my biggest thing. My biggest thing is like, it didn't work for me. I found my passion in other things. But what I do believe wholeheartedly in is the fact that young children should be able to be in these spaces.
Yeah.
I'm very big on children playing team sports. And I can attest to what basketball did for me. I can attest to that sport. I also play netball. He's not a fan of that.
Don't speak that word.
We'll bleep that out. Yeah. I'll bleep that out in the editing. That's for sure. That's for sure.
But the part that you're saying, about everybody should participate in team sports.
Children.
Well, I mean everybody. The reason I say that is because even as you get older,
absolutely,
and you want to do things to stay active. You gotta be on a team.
Yeah, the socializing aspect of it.
It's not about the solo sports all the time. You know, you don't. Can you learn something from? Yes, you can learn some discipline and things like that. But when someone else counts on you and you count on them, that's when you really, really start to put things.
See, but here's my thing, and I think maybe you guys can tell me a bit more about it, right? So when we're playing in schools or in spaces where it's like young and fun, wherever. The minute we start working for corporations or businesses, wherever we're working, and it's a dynamic team environment, you can't even, a lot of the things you've learned in sports, you can't really transfer fully into the corporation. And I'm saying this because it's like there's a different type of teamwork and team ethic that you've got to learn. And I think a lot of, even when my friends now, they're like, oh, we need to go back to the gym or we need to do sports. They're kind of like, I don't really want to do it. What's the benefit? What's the incentive? We've kind of switched from the incentive being, you know, praises or whatever it was when we were playing to now it being like, you have to come to work as a team. You're getting paid for this.
Well, see, that's where I think will differ because what changes your perspective on that is the coach that you have.
Yep.
True.
Right. And that's the experience that you have.
Yeah.
Because, you know, all of our greatest and best leaders in America, and we just use Obama for just the sake that everybody knows his name. Basketball player.
Yeah.
And he always refers back to the lessons he's learned in basketball.
Absolutely.
His cabinet is playing basketball with him and he's getting guys from Duke. And that's because when you're going through that locker room and you're going through a journey, and that's because American basketball, especially at the youth level, is really situated to where we are playing for something. Championships, we get rings, we got scholarships. Like there's an incentive there that gives us a motivation to keep pushing. And a lot of the places that we're at, like right now here, there's no real reason for you to like sacrifice for that, to go do that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so where we've used basketball, because now Coach and I as entrepreneurs, this allows us to understand how to manage personalities, how to motivate several different personalities, because everybody doesn't respond to the same thing.
Yeah.
He could call me any type of name in the book, and I'm going to see through that and get to the message.
Which I wouldn't, by the way.
We got evidence, but we got everything. But there's different ways that we can manage and we can put stuff together.
Yeah.
And then there's different uses for everybody's skill.
Okay.
And then there's different times where you have different roles to where I may be the best player on the team, but I may not be the one who has the hot hand this game. So I got to take a step back and let somebody else lead in that space, right? And so when you talk about in a corporation, there may be somebody that leads the team and you may be the boss because of your title, but there may be days when whoever is on your team here, they're better suited to lead you and take you to this space.
Okay.
How do you know when it's time to step back and let somebody else shine?
Right.
And for what purpose, right? And so when you have certain coaches that can give you that in physical form, right? Show you how to do that, talk about it in word, and then walk it themselves. Now you look at it different, because now it doesn't look like, why am I waking up for basketball when I know I'm not any good? But when I go see Coach King and I go see Coach Ryan and I leave, I have more confidence in what I'll be able to do around life, because we got to learn through adversity.
Yeah.
Some of us have to learn in countries like Somalia, Sudan, or in America in certain parts where it's just a hard life to live.
Right.
But we're in the UAE. it's not hard.
No.
Right? It's some difficulties, but you can make it hard. But the adversity you should learn through should be through sport.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to fall and hurt yourself or hurt anyone else to learn this lesson and work around it. And so that's where I think the balance could be.
Yeah.
And how do you manage it in corporations,
Mhm.
right? And so it's difficult to see at times because we have Coach talks about it. There's parents who can't see what we're trying to teach or show until they've been with us for like a month.
Right.
And then they're like, oh.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For every 10 kids, we may have one that she, or their parents it may be too much for them.
Right.
But if we impact the other 9 positively,
That's
we're okay with that.
We won. We won with that.
That's a win.
Before we jump into the next half of this, you bought a gift for us.
Yes.
Yes, and so Ilyas, bring the gold. What do we have here?
So this is karak. I've actually put it in a different dalla. This dalla is, thank you so much, Ilyas. This dalla is actually from coffee. So forgive me. Anybody watches this will be like, well, this isn't for karak, it's for coffee. But it looked nice.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Well,
know,
I wouldn't know
our
the
listeners-
difference until you just told me.
Yeah, our listeners from Baltimore,
Okay.
DC,
Yeah.
they gonna just think we got some rose water, something special. So yeah, it's whatever we want it to be.
So karak is it's a type of tea that is very, very famous here, and I just feel like I just wanted to bring some.
Okay, and can you remember the first time we had this, right?
In the Dubai Sports Council.
I told you.
Man.
Listen, we got offered karak for. I remember when we first got here, people were offering us this all the time. We was like,
I didn't know what it was.
like, nah. Well, we went to a meeting at Dubai Sports Council, and we were, it was a good meeting. So sometimes when they offer you something, and we were trying to get, something, like sure, we'll take it. And then Coach King is watching me from the side to see how I react to it. Because if I look at it and my face does a little eyebrow jump, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. Yeah.
But as soon as I got the hint of cinnamon, and it was nice and warm, I was like, oh, we could do something with this one. We could do something with this one. And so we'll try it out here.
Yeah, so it's also Ramadan, so I got you like the Ramadan cups. But
okay,
the thing about karak is if you like it, you like it. If you don't, I apologize. But the thing about karak is like for us culturally, even like as Somalis, we have the same type of tea. And so whenever number one, my mum always taught me never go to anybody's house empty-handed or anyone's space empty-handed. So I can't come here without anything.
Right.
But also, it's just such a staple of like community and just we're gonna sit and talk. So you've got to have
something.
Something.
Yeah,
so and then culturally, we've.
Do we cheers or something?
No,
you can't cheers. But try it and then let me know what you think.
And now my wife is going to see this because and I will say, well, she loves her karak, and she gets the karak and chapati and all the other stuff. And you know me, like I'm half 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like this and like that. And so there's one place she always stops at.
We were just talking about that. I was like, that's the same place I stop at as well.
And so she got some karak last time, but I didn't get it. I got some cinnamon tea, and the tea was fire. I was like, oh, I got to do this more. But the karak was all right. And so
cinnamon or cardamom?
It was cinnamon. Okay. I know the difference now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's cardamom is like another little spice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I had some Arabic coffee. Right. And the only reason I drank it because it was a small amount.
Yeah, you can't have more than that.
And I was a little chilly.
Yeah.
I didn't know you couldn't have more than that.
Why can't you?
It's culturally. So you should have little cups of it, small amounts at a time. And then the purpose is I still keep serving you. So the minute you're finished, you're supposed to shake and just, that's how I know you're done. But as you're my guest, I don't want you just to finish it and then be like, you're done. I want you to know that you have more. And it's hospitable,
And so I got some, right? I was drinking and I was like, oh, this is not bad. Because I don't like coffee, but it's lighter. So
it's a lot lighter.
Yeah. And then I was like, if you put a little cardamom and cinnamon in here, you got me.
Yeah.
But I probably went down like 3 or 4. And Jamila looked at me, she said, you ain't going to be able to sleep tonight.
No, it's so strong.
And this was at like 7 when after I broke my fast. Sure enough. 4 a.m. I'm wired.
Oh, man.
And it don't feel like I'm on like Red Bull or Adderall or something. I'm just like, I'm just here. I was like,
Yeah, it catches you off guard.
Yes.
But, and so so the karak is, and it's something that I absolutely love. So if you don't, it's completely fine.
Now, can you make this yourself?
I absolutely can. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta test you.
Okay.
It's one of my. So when we were growing up, like whenever guests would come over to the house, this is another example of like really how mothers like really implant things in you. You don't know until you get older. But when guests used to come and visit the house, our house was very open door. Like people would always come over. My mum would be like, Anisa, come down. You've got to make the tea. And I'd be like, oh, man, Mom, I'm in the middle of something. I don't want to come down. And then I'd come and I'd make it. She'd be like, no, it's wrong. Do it like this. Do it like that, whatever. But her thing was like, whenever anyone comes to visit you, again, never go anywhere empty-handed, but also make people feel welcome. Even if they're only there for 5 minutes, they should leave your house having had something.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a big part of our culture. But
that's a Southern mom, right?
And so my mom, grandma, everybody the same way. And so the one thing that I was learning is I'm talking to my mom because she asking questions about Islam. Right. And so she asking questions. I'm like, Mom, you don't realize that most of our life, we were already walking in the steps of the guidelines for a Muslim.
Yeah.
Like, it's really just as simple as taking care of your neighbor, taking care of the world, and just having this great manners. I was like, Mom, everything that we already do is basically what is part of a Muslim's life, right? So I gave her the book to see, like, plainly. I was like, this don't have no George Bush references or nothing. Like, this is just simple. Like, and she hit me the other day. She's like, oh, it makes sense, right? And so, like, when she talks about this, immediately you go back to when you walk in the grandma house, she gives you some lemonade, do some cookies. She's telling you to sit down, like just relax and just setting the table for you, right? Yeah. My wife do it all the time. We get all these daggone fruit baskets, you know, just stuff that goes.
And it's so interesting because growing up in London, like, whenever my friends would always come over, they'd be like, there's always food at your house. And even if I would never know if my parents didn't have enough money to pay for this. But it was like, the more my mom gave and the more our house was open, the more people came and like were able to learn our culture. Because I'm uniquely East African, so I'm Somali, with an Arabic, you know, descent. Our descendants are obviously from, you know, from Saudi Arabia and like all of that stuff. But also I am British. So there's like all these identities that I'm just like, you know, having to cater to depending on the audience in front of me. So it was always that. If anything was difficult growing up, it was that. It was knowing, I think you call it code switching. A little bit of that. But it was knowing when to be who in what room.
See, that's where basketball helps me and coach.
Okay.
Because of basketball and sports in particular, especially in America. And then you see it on a global scale with football. You see.
Wait, Ilyas, are you a football fan? Or who do you support?
Unfortunately.
Huh?
But
yes, Liverpool.
But listen though.
Okay.
Ask him where he's leaning towards now. Is it basketball? Is it basketball or the soccer?
Listen, he's
yes. He's letting you know, but he's kind of looking at me. He's like, yo, the basketball is different now.
Ask him when he comes back from the UK. He's going home, innit? Ask him when he comes back.
Look, he's going to, what is it, chirp sing?
Okay, I love it. I'm here for it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
But sorry, you were saying the similarities.
And so what basketball does is it galvanizes communities, right? And so when you look at basketball, everybody is a fan of it. And so I would find myself in rooms where I'm with coach, I'm with his teammates, I'm with people he's coaching me and teaching me about. And then I'm meeting with the mayor. It's in high school. Right? Or I'm on the other side of town with the family who may be a city councilman or whatever else. I mean, different rooms because they appreciate the work that we've put in on the court. And so now we've gotten opportunities because people are always looking for somebody that's a little bit different. That can just make them feel a little bit something. And so with basketball, athletes period in America, you'll look at it and people will be like, yo, why do you like this? Because the story behind an athlete is always crazy, right? And then you get to physically see like what they can do. And there's some genius in their physical ability. But that allows us to be in rooms where like, man, I was teaching in college and I was dressed like this.
That's amazing.
If I'm not a basketball player and they don't get to see me do those things and then see how much I can do everything else, I don't have that room. And I'm at like a Christian Mennonite school. You know?
It's
like,
so different.
It's different.
It's so
different.
Yeah.
And so let's get into you as an entrepreneur. Especially as an Afro-Arab woman. That's important to distinguish because when we talk about the Arabic culture, there's a way that people think Arabs look. And as I learned, you know, Arabic is one of the Semite languages, right? One of those Semite languages, and one of the only ones that's still spoken, right? And so, what makes a person Arab, Coach?
I have no idea.
Exactly. But when I look into it, it's just you being able to speak the native tongue. Correct?
Yeah.
That's what makes you Arab, is that you've been able to speak the native tongue, the language.
Oh, wow.
right? And so when you put that into
Which
perspective,
is very difficult.
which is different. But I'm about to start lessons.
Okay, I'm
Coach
proud of you.
Coach don't believe in me.
Okay,
You know,
no.
Kenny gonna rock with me too.
Yeah, Kenny's on there. He's
Let's see
always
how long this lasts.
Now that one we gonna see. We gonna see about Kenny.
Kenny is like, I don't know. I don't know what you guys are doing.
We're gonna see about Kenny. But that's a distinguishing thing, because I do a lot of learning and stuff on the back end. So I've been reading a book called Lost Islamic History.
Okay.
It's a small like preview of little bites of how the Muslim world grew and what it was like before the wars and how everything was going. And I was like, whoa, hold on. There's Arabs in Russia, there's Arabs here, there's Byzantine, it's all over the place. Yeah. So it's like, Afro-Arab, just like there's Afro-American. It's like, what is that? Because they have their place in Africa, right? In certain parts of the world. But with that being said, how is it navigating as an entrepreneur, as a woman, a Muslim woman, as an Afro-Arab, who is Afro-Arab turn isn't acknowledged by the Arab community, but what is that like?
I think it's so... So I had a conversation a couple of days ago with one of my Saudi friends, and she was like, Anisa, you don't realize this, but you pull out cards. It's like you've got a deck of cards and then you pull them out. And I thought that was so interesting she said that, because I literally walk into spaces and feel like, okay, what card am I going to use today? Am I going to use the woman card? I'm a woman. You've got to, I skip the lines and I need to do what I need to get done because I'm a woman entrepreneur. Or am I going to use the Afro? I'm from, Somalia. Am I going to use that? Am I going to use my British card? The fact that I start talking and then everything changes.
In it.
Just they hear the accent. But I think I'm the type of person that likes to look at the best of things. So I use it fully to my advantage. I could sit here and say, okay, it's the hardest thing to be an entrepreneur as a woman. When I started my business, I had all these difficulties. Well, we had some conversations about some of the struggles of like even getting a license and doing all the stuff. But like, I use it to my advantage. I'm in a uniquely privileged situation. And the fact that I am educated tops all of it for me. I think utilizing my education, utilizing my experiences, utilizing my networks, and making it work in whatever way. And also, I believe truly that whatever God has planned for you is yours, uniquely yours. It's not for anybody else. So I do the work. I make the plans. I have... My friend was even saying to me, like, some of your ideas are really delusional because they don't seem possible. But I'm like, why is it in my head? Why did God put it in my head? I'm supposed to try it. It might not work. Cool. That's fine. But I'm supposed to try it. So being in that space for me triumphs the part of being a female entrepreneur that is hard. The hardships of it is, I think for me, is one thing that a lot of people use as a crutch, and I don't want to do that. Even in a game, if you fall down, I remember this is one of the memories of basketball that I really remember. I had a coach, her name is Miss Meston. Shout out to Miss Meston if she's still around at the school. But she used to always be like, unless something's broken, keep going. You fall down, is it broken? Can you move? Shake it off, get back on the court. And so I feel like her thing for that was always like, you don't victimize yourself. Like, if you can make it through, keep going and do it. And so for me, besides all the struggles, I feel, alhamdulillah, really incredibly privileged. And I feel like I'm going to stand on that and be grateful for that and just keep continuing,
Do you think the UAE allows for that type of comfort?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Abu Dhabi, I think, supports female entrepreneurs like no other. A lot of people ask me, why don't you start your business in the UK? You can go home and you could apply for funding, do all. And I was like, no. I walk into buildings and share my idea, share my things like that, and doors open for me in terms of people just listening in ways that it wouldn't have, because I walk in with understanding of the culture. You walk in not thinking that you want to get something out. You walk in with respect. You walk in talking to the people. There's always like coffee or tea or something around. And those conversations allow people to get to know you as a person and also believe in your concept and then support in the way they can. If those doors don't open for me, I knock on other doors. And I think the fact that we're in a space right now, and I say this in the last 11 years I've been here, the UAE's grown, I've grown with it. The fact that so much has changed and I've been able to change with it and see things start, I think this is the best support we could ask for.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
It's interesting you say that that the UAE has allowed you to grow with it, because the outside perception of the UAE or any Muslim country is that women do not get the same type of opportunities as men.
I mean, it's so crazy because I felt that in London. I felt that in the first world country. I felt that there. Like I would see my mum, just because she's wearing a hijab, get turned away from places, and people would like talk to her differently. And my mum ran her own business as well, so she'd have to go and, you know, do all these different things. And I watched her be disrespected. And I came here, and even the simplest things, like when I go into a line, if there's two men in front of me in the line, they've got to move and I've got to go first. As a woman, I've got first choice. Where else in the world would that happen?
Right.
You know, there's specific things in place in respect of women. And even the changes as the UAE government themselves have done, where they placed women in very high positions and brought women on in the discussions of the changes that have been happening, is amazing. Where else would you see this happening?
Yes.
You know, so I feel respected. I feel highly privileged. I feel really, really, really safe. I feel incredibly safe as a woman here. Like, it's the most... And it hurts my heart when like people back in the UK are always kind of like scared to be outside at certain times of the evening and stuff. And I'm 3 a.m. What time did we, that day, it was Ramadan, after his game, it was like 2 a.m. We got, had no fear in the world.
They smiling at us. And I'll add to that because my wife is in aviation.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And she's one of the few women, and Emirati women herself, and one of the youngest in it.
That's amazing.
And now, you know, we're looking to move up and do things. But I tell her all the time, I was like, you're kind of a pioneer right now. Because the UAE itself is so young.
It is.
So everything that you guys are doing is like the first of its kind. So you are going to be, we have an academy where we have so many young girls. We probably have more young girls than any other academy that's doing basketball. And we speak life into them. We talk to them about India and everything. So when they get to see this and see this and listen to you and be like, man, the possibilities just in this space alone, because this place is going to give you a lot of tools.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to grow up and be able to do some things.
Yeah,
so
the
jump on it.
resources are there.
Absolutely.
It's whether or not you want to utilize it, you know?
Yeah, and you got to be taught how. I think Bread Eater is about to dip out, man.
Elias.
Yes. Oh, don't step on the cord.
No, he
All
won't.
right, come on out here. You can say bye, man.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
So Elias is heading back to the UK, to London.
Have a safe
Texas
trip.
when you get there.
Yeah, he's gonna get some peas and gravy and French fries.
Okay, now.
Oh, he's never had a warm cookie.
No, I've never had a warm cookie either. What's that?
Oh my goodness. This UK people, man. You've had a biscuit though.
We have apple crumble and custard. I can get you that.
All right, King. We know what to bring next time.
The way Coach is looking at me, I'm a little scared.
Yeah,
what did I say wrong?
We got to bring those, King. I guess it's an American thing.
Have you never had a warm cookie?
I don't even know.
Like a warm chocolate chip cookie?
No, it's crunchy. You dip it in the tea.
I tell you what.
You dip it in the tea.
I tell you what.
We'll take care of it.
The first time you have one will not be the last time.
Yeah, okay. We'll take care of it. See,
I trust you on that one.
Now we know what to bring to people when we get to places, because they don't know.
I have no idea.
All right.
A bit weird for me, but okay.
Yeah, we got you. We'll take Illy. Get safe travels, big dog. But where we'll go with that is entrepreneurship is different ways you come about that, right? We're in a space now where everybody feels like they have to be an entrepreneur because people keep telling you, hey, you can make $10,000 a month drop shipping. You can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that. And just the numbers alone got people thinking, boom. But really, it's not how entrepreneurship works, right? You either got to find a problem to solve.
Absolutely.
You either got to be an expert and be great at what you do so you can create a different space, or you become somebody who's completely innovative and you do an Amazon or a Tesla, right? But you don't just fall into those spaces nowhere. And so a digital wellbeing specialist. Have you ever heard that title before, King?
Nope, I have not.
I've never heard that title before either. But just listening to it, immediately it jumps what I think a digital well-being person is. I'm looking right at our kids and I'm looking at how they use their phone. And so I'm hoping, hey, if that's what you do, ooh, that's a need. That's a need. So can you tell us about what that digital well-being specialist entails and how you got there?
So speaking of pioneering.
Oh, look, hold on.
Listen, they bridging the gap. They bridging the gap. They.
So my background is early childhood education. That's what I studied, and that's what I did when I first came here. I was working at one of the universities. And what was interesting was when in 2016, I started to see the way that kids were, the relationship that kids had with their devices, the iPads and stuff. I was like, what is going on? Like, is there no one's really like regulating this? I have no problem with like a child getting the newest iPad or whatever it is that they need. But like for children to have like access to anything, I think that was worrying. So in 2017, I decided to quit my job, personally fund this project and this business. And I started initially with running programs after school for young children, going to their schools, going to their nurseries and doing things for them that was outside of sports. Because parents would be like, well, I tried them with football and I tried them with basketball. They didn't like it. And then that was that. And I'm like, well, first of all, how did that go about? And second of all, it was like, your child might not just want to do that. They might be a creative. They might want to do other things. And so giving them the space to do that. So I had a program that was called the Unplugged Zone. The Unplugged Zone is just creating a space where there's no devices and kids can just be free and creative. And most importantly, kids can be bored. Because one of the biggest problems is that people feel like they have to always be doing something. And I'm like, no. Let's embrace the boredom. The minute they're bored, they will come up with some very interesting things. So like, let them be bored. And so that program running those programs allowed me to then move into opening up an actual center in Abu Dhabi called the Unplugged Initiative. And I was able to open it up for not just kids, have parents, have nannies come in and do programs and stuff for them as well. But then unfortunately COVID hit and COVID made things really difficult. It was so crazy because it made things difficult in terms of like having the center open. I had to shut it down because it was deemed non-essential. But everybody was suddenly online. Yeah. And everything I was talking about for 3 years, worse. It was right there.
Man, COVID babies. We talk about it now to where you talk about basketball, how you have parents send kids to basketball and send them to football. Now we've had kids come to us that have come from those other places. And when they tell you they didn't like it, we know why they didn't like it. Oh, yeah. Because it was babysitting. It was drop them there, throw the ball, they go around some cones, and then whatever they want to get through and whatever they want to do is cool. Yeah. The hour is done. Yeah. But when they got to us, and there was structure, there's discipline.
Which they need.
It was working with somebody, is learning how to talk to people, and you have a problem with how you're feeling, well, say something to them. You need something and say something. It was different. The reactions we were getting, the temper tantrums, and we, especially Coach is a lot older. He's been around longer, so the patience level
is literally non-existent.
Is different, and so we even noticed that we're trying to respond to those kids who had those temper tantrums. Parents are usually immediately just jump off and just give them the safety net. Oh, yes. Right? And we had moments where we tell the parents, just stay there for a second. Yeah. Let us work. And let us handle this through that. And now all of our parents are just like, hey, if there's an issue at home, they're probably calling us before they call school. Yeah. Right? But how do you, because what type of research, what were you seeing, especially after that COVID spike, that let you know that like, all right, my facility is done. Yeah. But the job just got bigger. Oh my God. And there's more need. Like what research was there?
The actual when I had to put up on Instagram and on our website and stuff about the center being closed, it was the actual feedback and the reaction from some of my old clients and the parents. They're like, no, like I've been homeschooling my child now. They're with me 24 hours. I see the issue to the core because in when I started, people were like a little skeptical. They were kind of like, we can manage this. This can work. They're only on it for 15 minutes. But I was saying like those 15 minutes, the damage that causes will be like a lifetime, like it continues. And so I realized that, okay, we have a problem. We have a very, very, very big problem. We have young children right now who are not outside, who are not playing with other children, who are not socializing. They have no concept of teamwork or discipline, anything. They literally do whatever they want, whenever they want to. And so I was like, okay, if I can't have my space, who can I collaborate? Who already has a space? Who already is doing things? And this is where the entrepreneurship thing comes in, because like you said, people think they can make millions in like 2 days. But the real thing about entrepreneurship is being able to adjust and keep going regardless of what comes in front of you. That's the real thing. You know, like it's, people think, people think, I just love this. People think that oh yeah, no, I started this. No, you've got to, if I look back at the plan I made in 2017, I would laugh at myself because I'm like, you were so optimistic and naive. Like you really thought you could do this, because it really isn't that. So me putting on my business hat with the heart of really doing good and making an impact, I was like, who else is doing something? So I realized that hotels have kids clubs and they have spaces for children to come. So I went to a couple of the hotels and I was like, what are you guys doing for the children that come? They were like, oh, they just watched a movie. That we have iPads now. They were just showing me all the tech stuff. And I was like, well, how about I give you a program that I've already developed, it already works, and I train your staff. And we come and do this with you guys at all your hotels around in the UAE. They didn't believe it. They saw how it went. They loved it. Their clientele grew because now parents were like comfortable to drop them off, their children off to people that are trained. So that was something that I was able to like really go into and really make work. Then I was like, who else do I need to collaborate with? So I started looking at like sports clubs and people were doing things with children. That's what we were talking about. Like, and when I'm able to identify that these children need whatever they need, if it's because, sorry, let me take you a step back. A lot of the client work I do, if it's one-to-one or working with families, is identifying what the addiction is. So the addiction normally is they have to play this game for 24 hours or 12 hours or whatever it is. Identify the addiction as the actual device, then peel that back, see if there's an underlying condition. Are they suffering from something medically? Is there ADHD involved, autism? What is happening? Are they on the spectrum? Then if that's the case, I push the parents to sign them up to get help. So I have some psychologists and people that I work with. If that's not the case and they need outdoor space, they need to connect with other children, they need to socialize, then I always recommend like a team sport and things that they can do. So that's why I was like, okay, if I can connect with different, like I've got a football club in Abu Dhabi now that whenever children say, well, I want to play football, there you go. Basketball, paddle tennis, which is a huge thing now. They're looking around like that's not a sport. But like these things here, like just so that children can be outside again and be with other children and kind of socialize, because that is the issue. So these avenues I've had to really just kind of explore more. And my business hat is like, what else can we do on a global scale? So I've just come back from Italy. I was talking to you about that the other day as well. I've just come back from Italy and promoting the programs and actually having them have it for their nurseries and their schools, and then hopefully have a subject in the schools in this part of the world called digital wellbeing.
Yes.
I'm working on pushing that forward.
I mean, first. Man, I don't know how many times we've sat and talked about how frustrating it is at times to see, that become a crutch. And then sometimes people are just like, parents need a break. They do.
Okay.
But sometimes that break shouldn't just be that iPad. A lot of the issue is that they can't find quality service. And so we get here in Dubai where everything's shiny, Abu Dhabi, UAE, everything's beautiful. And you would think that the people giving the services and the people in those buildings kind of live up to the same type of aesthetic that you got around. And sometimes parents get to the spot to like, look, the iPad is easy. The computer is easy. Let's throw it down there.
Yeah.
But you said the effects. What you talk about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we got kids now that they struggle to introduce themselves.
Well, you probably have seen this as well on a physical level. Their physical development, they struggle to have that like hand-eye coordination. These are things that you, as a young child, you're developing, and if that's skipped because you're literally just using your thumbs and you're not doing any of the fine and motor growth skills, none of this is happening for you. That's a problem.
Big time.
Big time. And more importantly, sorry, I just really wanted to say, the part about parents being lazy is it's very easy for us.
No. I won't say lazy. I say you need a break.
Need a break.
I'm gonna need a break too.
He's like thinking about when he becomes.
Oh, for sure.
No, but I think what's really important, us three can sit here and say, we all grew up in different parts of the world, but we could all say our childhood was amazing because we went outside, we did this, we did that. What is very, very key here, and this is really, you're going to start to like, I hope you're going to agree, but you're going to see this as well. The style of parenting is different for this next generation. There is no more, we used to do this, so you've got to do this. We literally have to completely shift.
Yeah, I'm about to say, it's going to be, I'll let him respond to you in this one.
Yeah, but
we'll both get there. But
only because, the reason why I say this is you've got a higher number of children now who are identifying or are more towards different communities other than what's inside the family home, or like connecting with their parents and their siblings, and as we did. And I think, I'm not saying go where the kids are going, but it's just that level of understanding has to be different. And we have to really think 5, 10, 15 years from now, our children are going to be thinking about going to school, university and stuff like that, but whatever it is that they want to do. But what type of children are they, or teenagers are they going to be then? It's like now it's like it's so different.
I don't think we give kids enough credit.
Okay.
Kids are very resilient, and
absolutely.
You talk about the way we were brought up. I'm almost 50. I'm going to be 50 in a few days, and I grew up on military bases when I was younger with different nationalities of people and things like that, and it's all about what goes on in the house.
Yes.
I mean, because there's people who have been, for example, raised the way I was raised, and then there's people that are still being raised that way now.
Yeah.
And it's no different. I mean, of course, are things going to change a little bit? Yes, but we don't have to drastically change how we raise our kids, because right now, what's been happening, if you think about it, because I taught school for 10 years.
Yes.
What's been happening is, now people of all ethnicities have been changing the way they raise their kids based on society. And that is not the right way to go, because think about it, depending on where you live, that government or certain officials in that government that have certain beliefs, they cannot dictate how you raise your kid, because your kid may have a different experience than his kid. His kid may have a different experience growing up than your kid. So we can't all treat them, we can't all raise them the same way. Yeah. And the thing is, if you grow up to be a good person as an adult, what was wrong with your upbringing? Of course, there's going to be differences, whatever, but it's not going to be varying similarities where it has to be completely different.
I think when we talk about like we have to make drastic changes, I think that comes down to something specific. Like there's some generational traumas that get passed on because we don't know how to talk or allow each other to feel emotions and things. But structure and discipline, I think that's something that shouldn't have any type of change, right? It's just the way that it's delivered. And so what I know is that it takes a village to raise a child. And that's our slogan at Hoop Mountain, because it's the outside influences. My biggest influences outside of my mom are him, my Uncle Ro that was here, and then all of my basketball coaches. And then some of the, athletes and things, and Malcolm X or whatever that my mom pushed me towards, because she knew it just wasn't her.
Yeah.
Right. But what changed, even with me and my mom and my bro, we'll talk about, we were pretty argumentative in the way that we talked and discussed how things were. Right. With me and my child, we won't be as argumentative. It'll be certain things, but he won't have a say-so on certain stuff. Because that's where I think it's different. There has to always be a hierarchy. And I think right now we're giving too much leeway to a child that is trying to...
But that's my point.
Yes.
Think about this. If you were allowed to make some of the decisions that kids are allowed to make now at 12, you wouldn't be sitting in this chair.
13, 14, 15,
but what I'm saying
all
about
those things.
the change in that is like, there's outside influences. Your outside influence was, your coach and other people, they're physical there. But I'm saying in the homes right now, the things that I'm seeing day to day, outside influences, especially, I can talk for two things. I can talk for being first generation immigrant, when your parent is. I can talk for being raised in that type of household where you are in the house, it's Africa, and outside it's the UK. Literally, it's so different. But and here where children are actually being raised by nannies and there's other people involved. But the thing I'm saying the most about why we have to change the way we parent is these outside influences are literally creeping in to our everyday lives through different ways. You've got the parents and their work, their jobs, and the fact that they work online and they're doing all this online working, or the father is remote working and stuff like that. So you've got these devices in the parents' homes, the devices in the parents' hand. Parents are watching other parents parent on social media.
Let me ask you this before you get into it, because I think what we have to, I think we all missing it, because I think we all agree, but we're missing what you're saying. What do you mean by outside influences? Because that's what I was talking about. The devices and the apps.
And the apps.
Right.
So as a mom, as someone who's not a mother yet, if I go on my social media, if I go on my Instagram now, and I see these influencers like, day in the life of a mom and da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
As a mother, I'm like, I feel the pressure. As someone who's not a mother yet, I feel the pressure, number one, to find somebody and be a mom, or to, like, whenever I do become a mom, I've got to do it that way.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is essentially, it's really important to have these things. The fact that the way I'm saying we have to change it is, there has to be things in place to reserve what we believe and what we're saying in terms of how we're treating our children and how we're raising. Like you said, it takes a village to raise a child, because the outside influences are far too much.
Yes.
In my mom's house right now, there's something called Alexa. I can't stand it, right? So I came home and I visited my mom, and my mom is like, if inshallah, if you guys ever see my mom on social media or whatever, you'll see my mom is like so unplugged. It's crazy. She just has WhatsApp. She has nothing else. So all of a sudden I hear mom saying, Alexa. I'm like, who are you talking to, mom? Why are you calling? Like, you've got 11 other kids to call, like 12 kids. She's like, yeah, I just want. And then I was like, Mom, imagine how many conversations Alexa is listening to, number one, in the house as we're talking. I didn't even know they had it, but imagine all of that. And then imagine the psychological, like, effects after that, because all of a sudden something you were talking about, something you were saying, comes up on your social media or comes up on your search thing or whatever.
Scary.
So I'm saying these minute little things that are in place today are just going to grow 5-10 years from now. There's a huge push right now on AI being regulated. Why?
Right.
Listen, that right there is scary.
That's scary.
So so just to come back, when I'm saying we have to change the way we parent, it's a defense mechanism. I'm saying we have to be ready.
Yeah.
But isn't that's sort of what we were, the concept we were raised back in the day? Because if you think about outside influences, you think about the drug dealer down the street.
Okay.
You think about the gangs down the street. You think about just that negative influence from, I had a couple uncles like that. And your parents, they did their best to keep you from that stuff.
Because they saw what they were keeping.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
You can't see this now.
But they know it's there.
But you can't see the extent.
Right.
What I'm saying is, I saw the uncle down the street that I wasn't supposed to talk to across the road if he was there.
But parents, like, for example, our parents that we have at Hoop Mountain, all of them are very aware of social media and all the different apps and things like that. But it's up to them to pull it away from the kids. Now, a lot of them rely on us to make the kids put that stuff away. But it shouldn't be on us.
At all.
And so the thing is, if you are, how can I say it? If you're parenting in a strong manner for your kid, you can help prevent some of that stuff.
Absolutely. And that's where our work comes in. Like, your Hoop Mountain and what I'm doing, we're in pursuit of that. We're in pursuit of actually making these changes. So I think that's why it's amazing.
I'll add to that. I don't think the parents understand how drastic the effects are, though. I think they know that the kids are on the phone too much, but I don't think they understand the effects of it, because it's like one of those things to where so this happens to you here, you don't feel it until 3-4 years later when you're like, he having some issues with things. Because, with the way things go now, like for instance, for my era, right, we grew up with MySpace first, right? And what MySpace did was it kind of taught us how to code. Like, all of us were learning how to code and do things differently. And so now with the way that the apps are going, regardless of what these parents put on as far as blockers, parental controls, now the kids are so tech savvy because, as we said and we've talked about before, we got to give kids credit because they're a lot smarter than we think they are at times. And so they know how to get around everything. Right. They know how look, I can't do it here, but when I go to Fox's house, they'll let me get on those things. And so that's what we're saying is where I think the parents have to understand the effects of all of it and then make it their point to be educated
Right.
and up to date.
Right.
And
But
parents
I'm
have to be
not
supported.
I'm not doubting that. What I'm saying is that even back in the day when there were things parents didn't know,
Yeah.
that was even more reason for them to do whatever they can to make sure they insulate you from that.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
if you don't know what the effects of what it might of kids being on different apps and social media 3 or 4 years down the road, you still, because it's your kid, that's your house,
Mhm.
you should know everything that's going on anyway. And
Yeah.
if not, then that's a problem that you or I can't fix.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the bigger thing, right? Yes, we could say we should know what the children are doing, but this is where it's twofold. It's like, are parents getting the right support?
Yes.
Times have changed. The parents that we
Yeah.
grew up with and the parents of today's world is so different.
Mhm.
And it's like, especially I can speak for this region of the world, as parents, the parents I'm working with are barely there.
Yeah.
Really, some of them, not all of them, some of them are barely there, and like because they've come here to work.
Yeah.
They've come here to work, and so their children are going to school, they're going to activities, they've got the nanny at the house. It's this whole, again, and the other thing you guys are dealing with as well, you've got a whole bunch of third culture children. You've got
Yeah.
children who are here, not from here, can't really go home because their parents have chosen to like live here and work here. So it's that whole dynamic. So yes, the parents should know. Yes, the parents should defend. But then also we've got to give grace to parents and be like, okay, how can we support them? What
Yeah.
things can we do? And this is my entrepreneurship and my business hat coming on now, because like, is there a hoop mountain for parents? Like, is there something?
Yeah.
And I remember you were telling me something about doing like
We do a
barbecue.
community. Yeah, we do a
And I
community
think
day.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think these are the things.
And we'll
that
do it
parents-
together now.
Yes,
Yep.
inshallah,
Yeah,
we'll do
yeah.
a collab. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy to be like, I know this is probably the worst example, but when I hear of these like school shootings that's happening in the United States, which is for me, it's probably the hardest thing to listen to, and just kind of the horrificness of it all. When that shooter goes in, let's use the 6-year-old child as an example that went and shot his teacher. The mum has now been charged.
Yep.
Again, why did your child have a fully loaded gun? Why do you have access to that? There's all these questions. But the mum herself, it's like, well, what was going on?
Well,
Where's your support?
well, since we're talking about the U.S.
Mhm.
and we're talking about gun control, whatever,
Mm.
that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like that, like the answering to that, I can give you 10 different answers to that question.
Yes.
And there is no
Real.
there's no support
Mhm.
to help her, because that's a lot of that in the U.S.
Mhm.
That's cultural,
Right.
Yeah.
And the system is
You
so
know,
different.
and so that is something that
Mm.
so many different people in certain cultures they
Mm.
grow up with, and it's
Mm.
just no matter what happens,
Mhm.
no matter how tragic, they still believe in it. So
Yeah.
it's like that's
But I know it's
Yeah.
a deeper thing to go into, but then I think when you think of like the support that parents have when they have children that they don't know what they're up to and what they're doing, and the access that child has, or how far that child has reached, it is a tricky lane to go down.
Yeah.
And again, I think for what we're doing, us being people that have actually put themselves in place to combat things that we feel young children are missing and give them these opportunities, I think it's amazing. And I hope more people actually step up and be like, well, what can we do for the community? Because the problems are plenty.
Yeah.
If we sit here, we could be here all day. If I'm talking to you about what devices do to young children's physical development, their emotional development, their cognitive development, all these different areas of development that is being affected on a day-to-day basis because they're sat there playing a game for 6 hours.
Yeah.
There's so many problems, but we're solution orientated. So for me, I'm just like, well, you could do this, so you could do that,
Yeah.
you could do this, take your pick.
and I love that.
Yeah.
When his kid gets a little older and he's around me,
Mhm.
he does something wrong, I'm choking him.
Yeah, we
Straight
doing
up.
push-ups. But this is where I'll say though, like, and this is another thing that makes the technology era a bit different from those outside influences of our time before with grandmas, is that one, there's so much good that comes from it. And that we see it every day.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a blinding effect, because you talk about automation.
Mhm.
So you talk about how can you automate some things on your company to make
Mhm.
things a little bit more streamlined and easier,
Yeah.
right? How can we directly send in payment links on the phone? Like
Mhm.
our Instagram is where you can interact with us and see anything. So it's kind of like at times the lines can be blurred.
But
That's why it makes it hard to see. It's like, all right, we can't avoid the era we're about to go into to where tech is going to be every single place.
lives,
Like it's all the way going to be there, right? And then so what happens is overstimulation. too much of it, right? Now people want to remove as much as they can from people doing actual jobs, so there's less payment to go out there. And then those are the effects that you talk about, because that's what makes it difficult to see, like, is it really a bad thing if, you know, a robot just did surgery on somebody in a different country? You know what I'm saying? So now there's people like, some people do it, some people don't, but regardless of where it is, right? We talk about fashion, trends always come back around.
They do.
We talk about basketball, everything that's pure and is fundamental always comes back around.
Absolutely.
And we, as Muslims, we talk about balance.
Absolutely.
We gotta have the
You have
balance.
to have balance. Yeah.
And that's where we come in, because it's going to be here. We're going to have it.
Yeah.
But how do we balance it?
I think even with like my term, when people ask me, like some of the kids call when they're telling somebody who I am, like, oh, she's my fun coach.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they call me. But really, when I say digital wellness expert, I love how both of you guys are on your phone right
We're
now.
just checking different
It's
stuff.
all right, but I love it. Like this is normal for me. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like it's so in our lives. But what I'm saying about digital wellness is, like, I know for a fact this is a part of our lives. What I say to parents and young children is, how do we learn to use it? The same way we teach our children to brush their teeth, tie their shoelaces, put on their own clothes. It's tedious. In the beginning, it's very tedious, but it's a necessity, because if you don't teach them these basic things, you are going to be walking behind them for the rest of their life, tying their shoes, brushing their teeth, feeding them, all of these different things. And I say, number one, I never, ever, ever tell parents to take anything away. I never say a house should have no iPad, no TV, no nothing. That's the worst thing you can do. Because if you don't have any of these devices in the house, your child is going to go find it somewhere else. They're going to steal it from somebody else, or they're going to lie about when they used it. And those are all qualities you don't want your children to learn.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So it's there.
That's kind of what we talked about in terms of the kids growing up in Europe compared to the kids
yes.
in the US.
Yeah. Just having it there.
You take it away from, they're going to go seek it.
Yeah,
elsewhere.
absolutely. So just having it there, and the responsibility on all of us as we work with children in the next few years or whatever we're doing as we go on our journey. Yes, you guys have a basketball academy, but there's a responsibility on you guys to also, like, hear the way the children are talking about, for example, if there's a video recorded about a match and it's posted online. How do the children feel about these videos? How do they feel? Do they feel comfortable being on these platforms? Do they feel? Are they allowed? Like, when I do the show, I have a whole conversation with the children before they're ever recorded, so they understand what this means, the digital footprint of it all. And these conversations, I think, as adults, we have to speak more about before we just post any and everything online.
I mean, that is one of the it's most interesting things, because what we knew is that we had to make a change in order to grasp and get more clientele. And so when you look at us doing the podcast right now, that is us mixing the traditional methods of marketing and getting people, where Coach King is like, look, we got to go knock on doors. We got to go leave flyers. We got to go do all these other different things. But then on top of that, I'm like, but we got to also get that group, the young people that are online, and we got to give substance out there so people know that we are here and we're different.
Yeah.
But how do you do that without making a fool of yourself, doing TikTok trends and doing all those crazy things, right? Because one, the way algorithms are set up, those things will pop way faster than what Coach and I are doing, where we're giving life lessons where people are paying. People would pay for a life coach like Coach, right?
Right.
That would go crazy. And so how do we keep pushing and doing that when, we might have 200 subscribers right now, and a guy like Andrew Tate got 30 million.
I love him.
Right? Crazy. And then on top, and then we keep growing, and we're looking at it like, all right, we just got to weather the storm, but make sure that we're kind of giving that balance.
Yeah.
For every one TikTok thing, there's a platform like ours, and that's yours, Kids Unplugged. Let's keep feeding it in there. We just got to get a machine behind us to allow us to have that same visibility as those other things.
But you also, I agree. But anything good has always had its adversities, and it's always had its challenges. And that's how I know we're on the right path in business, because it's the harder path. Even when people ask me, like, how is this a business? So how do you make money?
Yeah.
And
that's the next question. That's the next question.
He's gonna go with that.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, for me, it's just like, as a social impact startup, I identify as a social impact startup.
Okay. That's good for meetings, ain't it? If you drop that in there when you're looking for a little investment,
The language.
social impact, yeah.
Social impact, because how do you measure that? What's the KPIs on social impact? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So I feel like yes, there is really and truly, especially today, you can make money in so many different ways. But more importantly, it's when you do something that's changing people's day-to-day life, there's a necessity for it. People will pay for what's necessary. People also pay with something that tugs on their emotions. And I think every single time people ask me what I do, and I say, hey, I work with kids who are addicted to screens, it's instantaneous. Wait, what? Yeah, my niece has this and my child has this and my person. There's a conversation. Well, this is the solution. I've got this package. I've got that. I've got this. These are the rates. And that's how we move. But more importantly, I think for me, it's like, even if I never make millions and trillions off of this, I'm happy that it's a direction that I've taken that is, again, impacting society.
I have a question though.
Inshallah.
How do you educate the parents? That's the next thing.
So I have different forms. So it's the book. So the books I've written are for parents.
Drop the name. Your
So
camera's right there.
How Electronics Stole Childhood. It's on Amazon and PayHip on my bio. That's the first book, and with that, it's a parenting guide on digital detoxing for young children. And I also, with parents, I can have a conversation with them on their learning style. Some parents will be like, can you send me videos? Can you send me a book? Can you do a couple? So it's their learning style, and they'll pay for the way that they learn. But a lot of our clients, a lot of the things are already ready. I call it off the shelf training. It's just courses and programs and things I've spent months already doing, and it's ready for them to purchase.
I feel like I think that's a direct partnership. Like we know for sure from ASA to some of our own, some people that can definitely benefit from that type of resource. So we'll have to find a way to streamline that and make it like readily available to get there. Because our parents definitely ask us, and we help within the means that we can.
Oh yeah.
But us being in Dubai and being in the UAE, we don't have the same connections that we would at a crib where we can go and find and know that this is going to be.
Well, while you were just talking, I just thought about two things. One, I have a big time connect for you that's in the US that may be coming here.
Okay.
This is one of my guys.
I'm
going to put you in connection with him like ASAP. And then somebody here I think you need to speak to too.
I love that. See, and that's the amazing thing about what we do. It's like, it really is about who you know, and it's connecting and networking with different people. And that's one of the blessings of being here. It's like, you just don't know who's connected. I mean, I was hanging out with Kenny and we were doing a couple of projects and stuff, and he was like, oh, you have to meet Ryan. And like through this and like whoever else we get to like meet. But this is, again, it's so important for even young children to see this, to see like literally we're doing something that's for you, but we're actually bringing in the village. The village doesn't just appear. We have to bring them in, you know?
Man, I sweat at night. And the coach does this too with when he's at home, he's working. But like one of my driving forces right now is that it's so important for me to have every project that, like the podcast, the apparel company, and then the other endeavor that I have on the side for it to pop. So all of our kids can see how multidimensional you can be.
Oh yeah.
Even if you started off as an athlete here.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, it's a driving force to me to make sure that this pops, the other thing pops, and the other thing pops, so they can see, wow, Coach King was a coach, he was a player, he was a teacher, he was a mentor, Coach Ryan was this, he was this, and he was this, and I had all of that in one space. And so when I go out to be that teenager from uni that's going out, and I go pick whatever it is I'm gonna pick, I know that I don't have to be stuck in this one box.
Yeah, and I think that's, you said a very important thing of like, and this is what is heavy on my shoulders, is like, people are watching. Young children will watch what we say. Sorry, what we do, not what we say. All the time. They will watch what we do. You could talk essays, you could talk whatever, but they'll watch what you do more than what you say. And I'm very, very aware of that. And I think the fact that I'm able to, again, do different things, and also the most important thing for me is I let them know when I've tried something and it hasn't worked. There's so much things I've tried. I've been doing this for about nearly 7 years now. And a lot of people, even like the other day I was having a conversation with my mom, and my mom was like, well, you can get a job, if it doesn't work, you can get. And I was like, Mom, like, this takes time to build, and it was like, I failed so many times. I stopped being ashamed of my failures. I'm not ashamed anymore. I've failed. I've tried this to do it this way. It hasn't worked. I've tried to do it a way that is new to me, and it maybe has popped for a little bit, but needed consistency, and I didn't give it that. And it's like having those moments of self-awareness and then relaying that back to the child that you're working with, or the youth that you're around. Hey, listen, this was my process. I've tried this. It didn't work. I did a self-audit. I figured out what didn't work. I'm now trying something else. That process, they can only learn through your stories.
You know that process? It's basketball. Because that's self-audit, that's game film. Right? We got to watch film. We got to go back, and then we got to go back to the gym and make those adjustments, right? And so that's where how do we add it in the corporate space? Literally, you got to go back and look at exactly what you did. We do that all the time. And so my question now is, because people look at this situation and they think money is involved, right? They think money is being made from the podcast, and they look at it, they think that it's a crew behind here, right? They think it's a lot of people in here. They don't know that it's all money invested, time invested, and it's still just 3 people, right? Hoop Mountain, they'll look at it from how we went from just 20 people in 2020 to now we're about 215, and then we have over 500 kids we've interacted with on after school programs, something we do new. And so they'll look at it and be like, yo, y'all are killing it money wise. Like, what is going in? How is this thing working? But what we talk to people about in entrepreneurship is that you have to have money. Right. Sometimes you can put up your own money, but we don't recommend putting up your own money if you don't have to do that. And so people ask, is like, where do I find money? Where do I find money? How do I prepare myself to get funds for something like this?
Yeah, so that's the most craziest thing, because initially when I went into it, I made that mistake of putting my own money into it, which I shouldn't have. That's
a good lesson, though. It's a lesson better than uni will teach you.
But it took a lot of courage to step out there on your own in something that you believed in.
Yes.
So it's okay.
So alhamdulillah, it panned out in the end. But what that taught me was, it's not about the money you don't have. It's about who you know and who has that money. Because a lot of the times, I don't think God gives you the money and the dream at the same time. I've literally seen this happen time and time and time again. I never have the plan that I have and the right funds at the same time. In my journey so far, it's never been at the same time. Sometimes I have all this excess money from a project or something. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'll be like, what do I do? Where do I put this? And then I will do something with it. And then months later, I'll be like, oh, I now have this thing. I need this much. And the money isn't there. I don't think, realistically speaking, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs will agree, it's in the beginning, 5 to 10 years, it's not always you're going to have the dream and the money at the same time. But what you learn in those times when you're actually looking for the funds is the skill set it takes to get those funds and to keep those funds. We can't respect the funds that we're going to have if we don't know what it took to get it in the beginning. And I feel like for me, a lot of what I've done fundraising is showing what the results are of what I've done. Like, if I'm looking for an investor, if I'm looking for someone to fund a project or a grant that I'm applying for, it's the fact that you're able to showcase what you're doing and the impact it has. If you're able to do that, you'll find funds. And the other thing I think is also incredibly important is to understand that when you do have funds, however small it is understanding, where can this money get me in like a year, 2, 3 years time? If what I'm investing in right now, even however small it is going to make me money in that amount of time, then it's worth it. This equipment that you bought, it was a lot to buy it in the beginning. But you know, the videos that you're putting out, the things that you're doing, the work that you're doing, 3-5 years from now, that's money coming in. YouTube, you already know that's a paycheck. So it's like all of these things. So you have to, it's the conversation before, it's the conversation you need to have before getting the funds. That's the most important. Because yes, you can get funds. You can get a bank loan. You can get a family member to invest. You can get a friend to invest. The funds is not the problem. It's never the problem. It's everything around it. I think that we need to just...
You mentioned grants. Now, that's something that we're familiar with in the States. But we know we're still learning everything here, trying to figure out, because like you said, there are people who will come to you who don't know how they have it. But they'll say, hey, we got $1 million we'll want to put into Hoop Mountain.
Can I tell
We're like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, immediately, I'm like, because I ask them, yo, what business you in? Oh, I'm in import-export. And we look at each other like,
what we know about that is different.
Yeah, you're not laundering money through mountain. We don't do any of that. Everything halal. Everything is by the letter of the law of the UAE government that we love so much.
Alhamdulillah.
So much.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're at the grants. There's a lot of government initiatives that have come out. More so to do with this. The key here is you have to look at when you're researching funding and grant stuff, you have to look at the government's plans in 2030, 2040, 2050. They plan 10 years ahead. And so one of the things that the government they have a wellness strategy for 2030. By 2030, these are the things that we want to have for our community. Everything is community driven and blah, blah, blah. So that strategy gets given to the different ministries involved in these areas. So you look at the Ministry of Community Development, the Ministry of Education, the Authority of Early Childhood Education, all these different, and I'm talking again for Abu Dhabi as a government, because that's what I know. And again, it is the capital city of the UAE. There are far more, possibilities for funding in Abu Dhabi than anywhere else, just saying. So it's like, and the support is there. Abu Dhabi is a very family-driven, family-orientated city. So a lot of the parks, a lot of the things that we have is just really that's why there's a lot of peace. Like it's just and so spacious. It's really family-driven. So going and understanding the strategy, understanding where this has been allocated behind that is funding. Mm-hmm. Every single corporate or authority has an allocated spend to reach this goal. So it's up to us to be like, I researched this, I saw this. You knock on the door and be like, I have this proposal. I have this plan. I feel like I will be able to look at your strategy and say I can do A, B, and C. That's part of your strategy. I can give you the service. This is how much I need. Yeah. As long as you can do that, as long as you can prove that, the funding is right there.
It's simple, guys. Simple as that.
It's a lot simpler than people make it. Yeah.
It's as simple as that, right? King, we can do that, right?
Yeah. The sarcasm is killing me.
No. Listen, we do believe that we can, but at times when you talked about the money you have to spend sometimes for right now, it may be a big hit, right? And that hit, and it's okay for you to spend that money and it hit and it hurts.
Yeah. And even if you can express, and even if you don't recover it, it's okay.
Because it's cool, right? Because OG talk to me all the time about sometimes something pop up, you gotta put something here, and you'll say, "I know sometimes you gotta spend it because it just gotta be spent." Yeah. But it don't mean it don't hurt any less, right? I mean, but where do you place your value, right? What do you mean? And so when I bought these cameras, and I'm looking at the cost of the camera, but I'm looking at what I value as far as getting quality content out. And giving us the opportunity to compete with the demographic and giving us a chance to go there. And then giving our users an experience to where it's like they're going to benefit from it no matter what and what that'll look like. Now, is it worth to say 10,000 dirhams that's going to hurt me now? Or is that 10,000 dirhams going to look like a drop in the ocean 4 years from now? Because what I'm really valuing is the experience and the growth and the awareness for everybody else to come. Because the currency thing, currency has changed every generation. Oh my God, yeah. It's gone from cattle. It's going, what I'm saying? It's going from just trade. It's going from everything there. And now it's going from paper money to digital, right? Coins, yeah. And so that's fluctuate. But you talking about people, the value of people and the work that you give, it's going to change everything.
No, but also I think you said a very important thing that you're talking about you getting everything ready for the people. And I say, before I make the decision to put a certain amount of money into something, the market research is something a lot of people skip, and it's the most important thing. There's two parts to it. It's doing the market research, seeing what's missing, and not what's missing right now. It's what's missing 5 years from now. I never look at today. What I started in 2017 is only coming to fruition today, because now people have understood the problem. I always look at what is the problem I'm trying to solve, but then 5 years from now, how is that going to look? It's not right now. But then the second part is to know your audience. Have conversations with your audience. A lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, have made the mistake of preparing something and thinking people will want it. It's never like that. It's knowing what's missing, having the conversations, being out in the field. You can't say you want to do something for kids if you haven't interacted with children in the last 5 months. I'm not even saying I used to teach. My teaching years of like back when I was teaching is so irrelevant right now. There's nothing that I can talk about with those children that is relevant today.
Yeah.
It's what you know that they are gonna need now more than what you think. If I prepare this, if I get this ready, they'll come. No, that's the worst thing you can do. And I've learnt that.
Man, I've heard that so often here.
Oh my God, I've learnt that.
Yep. just open the space, put this there.
They'll come.
Market this, they'll come.
And the way that it's marketed, it's like just get an influencer and just put that in front of there and do a dance and we got it. Well,
that's so arrogant.
Man, extremely, because you have money.
But you see, that's Dubai.
Yeah.
It's not Abu Dhabi. That's not how we market.
That's what they're telling us, huh?
I
don't know about
Abu Dhabi is different.
I don't know if I'm all the way there. Maybe in certain markets.
I mean,
but then I do think
I'm not talking about like the Yates Island out of it all. I'm not talking about that. That's different.
It's Steve Harvey.
It's Yates Island. It's Kevin Hart.
Those guys.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But you see what's smart about that? They did it for that audience.
Yeah.
Yates Island is an entertainment island. It works. But I can't use that same thing for everything. I can't promote my business with an influencer. It goes against everything I'm doing.
I do love this is what I do love about Abu Dhabi and the UAE. The main people I've seen at the front of their campaigns have looked like us.
Yes.
I've seen Steve Harvey everywhere.
Kevin Hart.
I've seen Kevin Hart. You know, I was in Galleria Mall with my wife and she was like, hey, that's Marjorie. That's Steve Harvey's wife. She's walking around. Like she's right there. And like in
Galleria Mall
in the Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi,
right? Like you earn your leisure. Those guys were here. They were around talking with stuff. So like, you know, the NBA, Shaq. And so that's what's also enticing because people like us are getting put in the forefront of a country's like take over. Like the GCC, the Saudi, UAE, Qatar, they're looking to be the next great civilization over the next 50 years.
Not the next great. See, that title I have a problem with. They're not the next anything. They are what they are.
And he's the crown prince, the king. He's made
anything because a lot of the next America, the next great. No, they are what they are. They're just going to be amazing. It's not the next anything.
It's something
to somebody like somebody looking. I know as Americans or people from the UK, we're always kind of like, this is the next best thing. This is a way we talk that we don't know is disrespectful to a lot of people. It's disrespectful to say to a nation that's been working hard to build themselves, you're the next something. We are.
It's more like the world powers, right? There's a new space.
From what perspective, though?
But we don't mean it in the context of being equal to, say, the UK or the US.
No, I know.
We're just talking about in terms of like
amazing.
It's really good now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're preparing to make it even better.
Yes, I love that. See, that sounds perfect.
Yeah. But also, let's not ignore history, right?
No.
There's always been a civilization that has led wherever the next part of the world was going to go, right? America has been there for 400 years, short time comparison to the different empires. You got different things, and I'm saying the leaders, where everybody is going to be looking towards, saying what's the next innovation coming? What's the next initiative here coming? Where's the next great minds? Where's the next thing coming? It has to be another person at the forefront, or another civilization at the forefront of that, because it's just a balance. That's how it's always been. And right now, because when Crown Prince talked, he said, why not now for us to be here and everybody come to us first, right? Now, what that's going to look like is going to be one of a kind.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be nothing like it. But for every civilization that took its lead into the forefront and pushed itself up top like that, it looked different.
It looks very different.
But somebody has to be at the top of that next, right? We got to have some type of world order, because when I'm doing my Islamic history and reading, there was a time when the Muslim world was at the top of everything, and there was influence of from here and here and here, and the Muslim world was ahead of that. You talk about astronomy, talk about math, talk about medicine, you talk about everything, right? And so it's another turn for that coming, and I think they're putting themselves in space for that, you know, financially and all that. You see that they're getting all the great minds from everywhere, and putting them in the space.
That's been their thing, like to be able to just push forward. But I love the fact that they're getting the recognition they deserve. I'll give them that 100%. The UAE, the way, even with Qatar, the way they did the World Cup and the way that everybody kind of like flipped the switch and like, oh, this is amazing. You know, like all of this is, especially being here, I've watched the change. I've watched so much change throughout the last few years. But again, like to some people, when they hear, oh, we're going to be the next great They get offended. And this is conversations I've
Yeah.
had.
What space?
So the thing about me is I'm privy to a lot of different conversations. So I
Yeah.
can sit in a room with other Arabs. I can sit in a room with Emiratis. And we can have conversations. And for them, when I speak with Emiratis and Arabs in general who have lived here and have been here since the beginning, since their families have been here, since, some of them have been born here and stuff. A lot of the conversations that we have is like they had an amazing experience growing up here, and everything has always been safe, peaceful, and possible. Everything's always been possible. So right now, when people say it's the next America, the America that they see today isn't the one that they want to be a part of, or the next.
That didn't come from us because
I know
that.
You didn't say that, but I'm saying as an example,
Yeah.
I'm giving you an example of the conversations we have. But what they do, the things that we do talk about is the fact that like they're proud that there's people now coming and experiencing the Middle East in the best way after years of the Middle East being shown in Western media as the most craziest place, and that is what they would like to champion. Like, we've been here. Hi, welcome.
Nice. And that's the geopolitical breakdown, because that just brings in so many other different layers of stuff too. But what we will say is we liken it, not another American breakdown, but we talk about the gold rush. And how in our American history, the quest to go west, and everybody get there first, and how those people were able to like establish something and really change. It's what it's like for us when we look at the GCC area altogether, because it is so young. And everything is new, is changing. What we love is that you'll get a law changed in 48 hours. And then it's implemented that next week, right? And that just shows you that they're so willing to learn. Possibilities, yes. Right? And that's why, and also too, they have older people mixed in with younger people in those cabinet rooms.
The youth have a lot of say here,
a lot of say. And it's dope because OG would say the one thing that he always tell coaches and anybody that's older is you need to embrace change, and you need to make sure you're not a dinosaur. And don't become a fossil because you refuse to learn from somebody younger. Yes, you have a lot to teach them as somebody older, but when you can miss your experience with their new knowledge, now you become unstoppable.
That's amazing,
right? And then vice versa. Now you give their wisdom to their new knowledge, and now they have a completely different perspective on and it just give and give. And so my next thing is where does Kids Unplugged go? Because you've migrated, you have a book, and then you have an online series, which we were able to see, and you have a very energetic young lady on that first episode.
I love that.
And it's cool. But where does Unplugged go next?
So I love that because again, I'm always I'm always looking at things and I'm like, how did this work? How can we move forward? And the work I'm doing is a lifelong journey. Like I know it's technically a business, but really it's again, as a social impact startup. I've got a few projects in the pipeline that I'm hoping is gonna, I'll be able to announce in the foreseeable future. But if I look back at this video and I'm able to watch this like 2 years from now, I want to say what I'm about to say and be like, oh yeah, I said it then and now it's happening. My biggest goal right now is to implement a nationwide subject. The digital wellbeing subject needs to be in classes. We need to get this subject. It's as important as, science and maths and STEM, whatever it is that they're learning, coding. It's as important as that because children need to know how to regulate these things that are about to come in the next 5 to 10 years. There's been such a hike in cyberbullying for young children. There's been a huge hike in like children wanting to be on these like different platforms and watch content that's not age appropriate, and the things that and the questions that they then have from watching things that they're not supposed to be watching. How is it being answered? Who are they going to for these type of things? And it's like it's no longer just let's stop it and monitor it. It's let's open up the conversation. Let's have a subject in school. Let's have this be something that they're taught. Let's have this something that they know and understand so that as they grow older, they know where to place this and how to approach this. So that's my, I'm hoping, inshallah, in the next 2 years, I get that done.
Now, does the TV online series, how does that play a role within that too? Are you going to continue to push that? Multimedia productions are important for your growth.
Absolutely. So we're in the moment filming season 2. of the show. So I'm hoping to have that.
We want to be special guests.
Yeah, you can come on.
We can make an
If you
appearance.
can have a conversation with these kids, 100%.
But I'm not coming on there with that first young lady.
No, we have new children.
Yeah,
We have
her
new
personality is too strong.
She's amazing. Yeah.
That's right.
I'm glad you guys watched that.
Yeah.
So with having the show, it's going to be continuous and also having more content on social media because essentially my business is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That's my line of business.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to be unplugged myself, because my relationship with devices is so different. I don't have a TV, by the way. I don't watch things. I don't.
How you gonna watch the episode for the podcast?
I mean, I have a laptop to watch.
Okay.
And I listen to podcasts on my drive.
Beautiful.
Okay.
So whenever I'm driving, I download podcasts and stuff like that.
Okay.
But so my relationship is I'm very much unplugged. So it's like I have to now really be able to showcase these things. So my business is awareness and having the show, having my third book out, which is I Can't Put My Phone Down. That's coming out. Yeah.
Okay. I'll check that.
Yeah. He's like,
plug it right there, your camera.
I Can't Put My Phone Down, coming out May 27. Watch out for that book.
Do you have a book signing? Do you have any?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
The reason why, I think for me, I shy away from like something like that. And I think even with my assistant was telling me the other day, she was like, you need to like,
you have to.
You've got to promote and market your books. The thing about the books is it's the time. If you want to read it, if you want to buy it, I don't want the incentive of I'm going to sign it for you, so read it. So I have to get over that.
It's the connection.
I have to get over that
because we're starting to do stuff where we're selling clothes, and back at home that was my first venture. And what I would do is I would pull up to an area, tell everybody I'm coming. And we'll have a pool party at one time. And at the pool party, it's community growing. And then we're selling the clothes, but they're getting to know me. Because you said something earlier. Business needs to pull on the emotional strings.
Absolutely.
Because whenever somebody sees a Hoop Mountain t-shirt now, they love it. They buy it because it takes a village, means something. Because what Coach King did when he pulled up to the play that they had when they were doing Macbeth. Or if I went when they were having this and that.
Yeah.
And so that book signing, that allowed them to touch the people.
Yeah. I'm gonna, because you've given me that advice, I'm gonna think about that. But the title in itself, I Can't Put My Phone Down.
Yes.
Are you gonna walk past that title?
Yeah. You gotta go to the spot and see me talk about it in person, and you leave all the phones at the front door.
Oh, no one's coming in with their phone.
Yeah, me and Coach will be there to network.
Yeah, sure.
We'll be there. We'll be there for sure.
I'll definitely put that. Now that you said that, I definitely will put that together for sure.
Make it a gala. Now it can become an annual event.
Especially with my network, it'll be crazy.
Come on, it'll become an annual event to where I can't put my phone down.
I can't put my phone down.
Like, what's the new thing?
It's the whole vibe.
Season 2.
See, the whole business thing, it doesn't come off. The hat does not come off. Every time, like, this is what I love about sitting with like-minded people. And, I'm so big on this. I'm so big on sitting with different people because the conversations are different. But more importantly, it's like, we can talk about something and it's like, I'll have an insecurity. I'll be like, I'm not really comfortable. And then in 2 seconds, you can change my mind because you're thinking ahead. You're a visionary. You're like, this is what you need to be doing. And this is how I see it. And I think that's the key thing about being an entrepreneur is who's your circle? Like, who are you around? Who are you talking to? Who are you connecting with?
Man.
A lot of people forget this, but that's my biggest thing. I love the quote, sit with winners, the conversation's different. It's my favorite quote.
Listen, we need some connections right now, right, King?
Oh, yeah.
We done rubbed the elbows with everybody that we can rub, but all
was so different.
we're like at the same level as them now.
No.
Because everybody that they said they knew, we know now.
You know
and
now.
we know that they don't have the cup is a little empty over there.
You know what's crazy? What's so amazing about being in the UAE? You don't know who you know. Like you don't know who you're going to be around. And I say this because the way my network is crazy.
Yeah.
And it all came from the fact that I was just like getting out my comfort zone. I'm just like, go and speak to this person, go and speak to that. Oh, so-and-so is this and they're that royalty and they're this person. It's like, you would never I mean, people always say, have you met the Queen? God rest her soul. But like being in the UK, there was no way you'd be like next to the royal family at all.
Right.
So, I'm going to plug a book right here. Anisa, and shout out to Anisa. She gave me this my junior year of college. And it was Uncle Ro had it first when he was transitioning from GW and George Mason and looking for the next gig. And she gave it to him first and then gave it to me because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do because I wasn't going to play pro ball. And the book was a short read, like 85 pages. It was called The Power of Who. And it was basically saying that you already know everybody you need to know
I read that book.
to get where you need to go.
Yeah.
Right. You already know everybody, but you're overthinking it. I mean, think about how many times we get on the phone and I mention something to you and then it clicks. You're like, oh,
I know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know who trained Austin Reed to get here, or I know so and so already who knows this and that and this and that.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that makes people kind of reluctant to jump out there, because they're like, man, what can I do?
Yeah.
Well, who knows me? But then when you look at it, you're like, you really already know who you need to know to get to where you got to go.
It's the most craziest thing. And you already, and they come into your mind for a reason, because if you don't know them, that whole 6 degrees of separation thing, crazy.
Real.
You know somebody who knows him. Like I believe I know Oprah. Absolutely. Like I know who she is. I can
What's in that
right
comic
now.
over there?
That's the one person in the U.S. you picked.
Yeah.
Out of everybody I could pick.
Absolutely.
Because
but I get the Oprah vibe though. In the garden and sitting in the garden.
Because
we got the fireplace for you.
It's the whole vibe. No, but because literally I can tell you off camera, but I can literally be like, I know who knows who. I get that. Because it's not just as a flex. It's because if you do go out and network in the right way, I'm always looking for people who are not even in my field. You will be surprised at who you end up being connected with.
No,
this is a lesson that I've learned. Get out of your comfort zone. Go and network. Go and meet people. Go and talk to people. And not people that are like on social media. The most powerful people that I've met, they have no digital footprint.
Yeah.
The most powerful, the decision makers. I walk into offices and spaces right now and I say, who is making the decision? I don't want to talk to the middle people.
Yeah. We're getting close to that, because we're trying to, people keep telling us, look, Ron, you got to share more of yourself on TikTok. You got to share more of yourself.
It's not social media.
Listen.
If you want to get to where you want to get to, it's not on social media. Don't be fooled by people saying you have to have 1,000. If I can go now and buy a blue tick, why do I care about how I look on social media?
Hey, listen.
It's what you can do outside. In this country, if you want to make it here, take my word of advice. I'm telling you, I'm going to take it to the camera too. If you want to come over here and make it big, it's not about who you know on social media. It's about who makes the decisions in spaces that you need to go to.
Listen,
the decision makers.
That's the space that we're trying to get to. Like, people tell us, like you and especially me, you got a way of making people feel like they know you, but not knowing anything about you for real. Right. And Coach King's the same way.
Who you are.
Yeah. Like and he's like, people think they know me, but they really don't. Like, Coach gives enough, but it's like a whole mountain back here that's completely private,
man, I'm
locked up. Yeah, it's a small picture book. Yeah. And so that's where we at to it, because I really strongly believe that it's power in being somewhere that you're not always accessible. And so we love this podcast thing, but we don't want people to get confused and feel like if I see them on the podcast and I see them here, then I got the full picture. Because we want you to come and experience and feel.
Oh, absolutely.
We want you to be there. And but so I'm fighting that. I'm not TikToking, vlogging my day every day.
But separate the two.
Yeah.
Podcast, you guys, and you business is two different things. They kind of sometimes interlink. Mm-hmm. But what I mean about the people you need to meet and the people that you need to be around is the people that will make the decision for the podcast to still run.
Yes. I'm waiting. We
you know
working.
What I mean? Like that's the caliber I'm talking about.
He's definitely had his antennas up for 4 years. He's
like, who do I connect with? And even Ken was like, Anisa, you don't even utilize your network the way you should, but I have been.
Yeah. You just know when. It's just timing.
It's the cards.
Listen, we started all this stuff, right? Coach King knows immediately. I remember our Steve. I remember telling Steve after our first meeting after the Dubai Sports Council, I was like, yo, I think Hoop Mountain Dubai can be like $1 million US type company. And I remember Steve telling me at the Starbucks, well, there's a lot that has to happen before then. But they didn't know me, and Coach King knew me. But immediately when I got off the plane and we met with all the marketing companies that didn't know what they were doing, and it was bad, I said to myself, yo, there's like 8 different ways we can make money, but not compromise anything for the youth in the communities. Like, it's 8 different ways. I know it for sure. And now when we got here and I was knocking on doors, and I was presenting, coach presenting, there's people, a lot of those people were middlemen and we didn't know they were middlemen, and they don't really have the vision, so they're afraid to kind of push it up to the next room to where they probably would accept it. And then that's why we have the podcast, and that's why we're doing our own clothing thing, because I've called Nike 7 times. No, I called them 7 times in 1 week, and then I called them every day for a month, and they hung up on me. I called Adidas, and I got on the phone with that guy, and he literally hung up on me before I finished my sentence, right? And I'm sitting here looking like, we know a lot of people in the States that directly connected to those big shoe markets because I grew up under them.
Right.
But I want to talk to the people in a minute because I know that, like, one, we've come across kids who don't have basketball shoes.
Yes.
Kids who are just playing in whatever they got with holes in the bottom or whatever.
Yeah.
And right now we're at the point to where our parents don't buy a shoe without asking us what to buy.
Which one to buy.
So that value is different there.
100%.
And then two, the issue is getting kids to go play basketball, getting kids outside to do things. And we've gone to the lesser affluent areas and done classes for 30 dirhams, try to do things for free and everything. Right. There aren't any community centers out there where there's a free basketball court where people can go, or the basketball courts out there aren't refurbished and put together. Yeah. So I'm calling trying to tell somebody, hey, we don't want any money from you. Just partner with us and help us build stuff for the community. Yeah. And they're hanging up on us. But and so now we're about to make it so bright that they got to come knocking on the door.
Can I give you a little, like, this is, again, we're having a conversation, but can I give you a little thing that's changed everything for me?
Yes.
Remember the cards I'm always talking about? Business in the UAE, when you're dealing with different types of people from different parts of the world, there's a finesse to it. I take off my whole Western hat. I am not even British when I'm going into these spaces. There's a conversation. I'll tell you a very quick story. When I first opened up my space, I spent almost 110,000 dirhams on it and, like, just fitting it out. It's just a lot of money. And thankfully that was investments and stuff that had gone into that. But there was a situation where someone had come in and said, they had a problem with one of my coaches, one of the ladies that was doing one of the programs. And because of that, they were like, we have to shut you down and we have to close the space because of who I know I'm going to shut you down. And it was so interesting because I was like, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, you're going to shut me down. I haven't done anything. Like, it was a fear thing. So I called my lawyer and my lawyer was like, no, you have every right to be there. You've got all the things that you've got done. Don't worry about it. I called my lawyer who's Western. He came with, like, a Western mentality to it. But then I was like, wait, hold up. A lot of the business deals and a lot of the things that happen and a lot of things that take place don't happen during business hours. Something called the Majlis Hours, which a lot of people don't know about. It's in the afternoon.
Say that again.
The Majlis Hours.
That's what they call it here?
Yeah. The Majlis is like the space, the seating space that people sit after in the evening, after Asr Maghrib.
In the States, we call it
something else, right?
So it's these
where
tea.
you have the karak and the tea and the Majlis Hours. Okay. So the decisions happen in these places and in these hours with the people that are making the decisions. And so I called up someone who I knew would be, he's a very influential person. I can't even mention him. Very influential person. I knew all he had to do was do a phone call. So he called another person. What they did is they all go to the same majlis. I didn't know this. They all go to the same majlis. Like, and he said, don't worry. Tomorrow, go to work as normal. I'll sort this out. The next day, I get a phone call. It's like, oh yeah, the dispute has been resolved. Your center can operate as normal. In that moment, I realized the finesse really is, you have to approach this as not as a business to business. It's about the culture and understanding the way that people talk and the way that people understand things. You're going to your aunt's house. You're going to your uncle's house. This is literally, the country is built off of families and tribes, and you have to go to it like that. So yes, you could call Nike, and yes, you can call Adidas, but there's other people who make those decisions for these companies that are guests in this country.
See, that is where we knew we've been running around in circles. Right. But we don't know how to get there.
Yeah, that we
works
knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you don't have any access to the, you don't.
But the access and getting to these people and getting to these spaces is the research. Like I said, number one, when I was talking about the strategies for 2030, 2040.
Yeah, the background.
You got to do the background research. Who is funding what? Mm-hmm. Where is this being allocated? This is all public knowledge. Mm-hmm. This isn't something that's hidden. We don't, I mean, in the US, you have even more access to public knowledge than here. But it's like, if you find out the names, where these things have been allocated, then it's just a matter of who knows that person and how you can get to these people.
So we have a conversation to be had off camera because we don't want to give too much game. Because we haven't got to the spot yet where we're charging on Patreon. But you guys see where the development is going and the type of information that you'll have to pay for eventually. But that sparks a conversation, and we'll definitely continue that because that's a space. Because what we in reaction to that, we knew already that this is a place where it's run by royal families who've been here for years and years and years. The history is rich. We knew that there were spaces to get to that we had to get to, but we also knew that we couldn't just wait around and look for it, because we got to add some value. Because what we have is that we are American, and there have been Americans that have come before us, and there have been British that have come before us that messed things up. And that came in here brash, and that came in here arrogant.
Yes, I'm not British right now.
Yeah, right, right. They came in here with all
I'm Arab right now.
Exactly. They came in here with all those things, and so now the ear that you listen to me with is a little bit different.
Absolutely.
Until we kind of show and prove, and now we'll have a plate that serves that. Be like, look, this is it. So we got to work to get in the room.
No, we'll definitely do it. But bottom line, the main point here is when you do, if you guys said you have people that are listening from the States and stuff. If you do decide to move to the UAE, it's more about putting in the work to understand how the UAE works, how the different cities work, how the government works.
Yeah,
it's tedious work. I understand that, but that's your key.
That's business.
And having having the finesse to, if you understand the culture and you understand the nuances, walking into a building and saying "Assalamu alaikum" and learning that phrase of how to say hi, and actually asking before in our culture, before I ask you for anything, I'm supposed to ask you, how are you doing?
Yes.
How's your mum doing? How's your family doing? There's a finesse and there's a nuance to how you talk to a person.
I will say.
And I'm supposed to keep you comfortable. Then I can be like, then you ask me, what can I do for you?
Yeah, well, in all honesty, that really isn't a finesse. That's really how you're supposed to approach another human being.
But how many people know this? Yeah. How many people do this?
Yes.
Because we know that, like, we've been raised to do that. Like, there's no way I'm going to be like, oh, coach, can I have AB? My mum would slap me in the head if I ever went to someone and I asked them that. It's like, how, but that is highly valued on if you can go and do this at a higher level, imagine what you can get.
The crazy thing is, King knows I didn't become Muslim because we're here. Right, that's what's already in my heart. But you know how many times people damn near hug me when they find out, he's like, "You American?" And then I might tell them like what my Muslim name is, and they'll go crazy and be like, "Really, Americans is blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fast growing." But then on top of that, they say, "Oh, you married an Emirati." And then one guy, I think he runs the sports thing for the basketball clubs. He said, "You're one of us now."
I love that.
I haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen him since. So I'm still looking for you.
Say uncle, right?
Right, yeah. What's going on? But that's why I'm learning Arabic. And once I learn Arabic, I'm really gonna learn Arabic though, King. Wait till I show you.
His heart may be in the right place.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
It into existence.
Wait till I show you the contract somebody showed me. And wait till you just wait. I got some things to show you.
You've got to show him. At this point, you've got to show him.
That's what he's doing. That's the coaching him. He's coaching me. He's egging me on. And so we'll get to wrap this up, right? And I'll tell you this now. When we wrap up, we do what we call a post-game wrap-up.
Okay.
At the end of every game, and every practice, good coaches, great programs always bring everybody back to the center, and they leave them with either reflection on how the practice went, how the game went, something that they seen, so they can carry that on. And so that's how we'll end the podcast. Well, before we end it that way, so you can reflect on it, how can we, because we like to make promises right here, because, closed mouths don't get fed.
Yep.
And
but you haven't asked for
Hoop Mountain, Dubai, needs that network. They need that digital well-being specialist, and we need to have a lasting partnership to create for that E11, E10 between AD and Dubai. There needs to be something that allows us to come together. So whether we partner on a community day in both Abu Dhabi and Dubai, because we've already started a small sample here and we know that it'll be great. And whether we make that a community day along with some type of educational breakdowns and things, but can we get a commitment? Can we get a commitment on air in front of here that Unplugged and the Unplugged Initiative in Hoop Mountain Dubai can form a partnership?
Oh, absolutely.
We're in here?
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right. Now how do we make that official based on those meetings?
With the correct and stuff? That's what we say, inshallah. Inshallah. But then the biggest thing about our culture is that your word is your word.
Your word is your word.
A lot of things have happened in history too, in the past, where You promise something, you got to fulfill it, because the promise you make to a person in the eyes of Allah, you've got to fulfill it.
So wallahi,
Inshallah, we're gonna do a collaboration, a project of some sort together.
That's it. All right.
And you got me on camera.
Wallahi.
So it's like,
so your
you've
word
got
is your
the-
Yeah,
bond.
wallahi,
Word
right?
is the bond.
Wallahi, we're here.
Yeah, I'm like that.
We
dude.
making it
like that
happen.
for years.
You don't know how excited we are, guys. It's a wrap. We told you guys.
Scenario.
For all you guys out there, those other places that try to coerce us, that try to make us do some things that felt uneasy, that try to make us feel like the road that we're taking that's untraveled is not the right way because we got to have you.
No.
You just wait.
All you ever needed was
What? And we getting out of here clean. We didn't do anything right. We did it all the hard way. So,
absolutely, and
Oh,
we'll continue to, inshallah.
man, inshallah. And so, OG,
Mm.
post-game wrap-up. You got something ready or you want me to go first?
No, I got something right here.
Okay.
And this is in gear with in line with what's going on right now with college basketball recruiting.
Right.
As you know, most of our listeners out there that do follow college basketball know that with COVID, everybody got an extra year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was good for the players in college because, who wants to do online learning the whole time? That takes away the whole college experience. And then the transfer portal is wide open. So you can just transfer 1 year without penalty.
Okay.
And you can even transfer a second time, but there is a penalty if you're sitting out. So it's kind of put a strain on high school seniors that typically get scholarships because college coaches now are looking at 22-year-olds as opposed to 17, 18-year-olds.
Okay.
And so a lot of guys that would typically have Division I, Division II, Division III opportunities now are going to prep school or not even playing basketball. So, part of the idea of the transfer portal being open was so that kids have the opportunity to come and go. But what people didn't really think about was the top players are the ones that are benefiting from this.
Yeah.
The guys that are on the end of the bench at those college, institutions, whatever, they're getting in the transfer portal and not getting picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say this because I watched the old clip of John Chaney the other day. He's one of my former coaches. May he rest in peace.
Legend.
And he said this, and he was talking to the national audience, as one of the Black leaders in terms of coaching. A college education is the only opportunity a kid has to save his life. Education is light. Education is heat. Education is a roof over your head. College shouldn't be just for the privileged few. How can we raise the ceiling without raising the roof, without raising the floor? And so that's kind of deep because I think we've forgotten, because each generation things get a little bit easier, I think we've gotten to the point where we forget the value of a college education.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to get a college scholarship in today's times, you're thinking about you potentially could be, the minute you sign that scholarship, even though it's 1 year renewable, you're right now worth $300,000. That's your current value in the matter of the ink drying. And people lose sight of that because they only see the millions of the NBA or the big 6-figure deals from the NIL.
Endorsement,
and they're not concerned about what the education can bring you because all we see is the success stories. We don't see the ones that don't make it.
People don't see the work.
Yeah. So you have to remember, if you get an opportunity to go to school for free, you got to remember what value it truly has.
Man,
I love that.
And what's scary is that the way America works is that there's a system in place to where you'll see the pendulum moving, and we won't be privy of it until it's too late.
Oh, yeah.
My aunt told me a while ago how, there's been record numbers of Black women, Black men, Hispanic, Latinos that have gotten educations.
Yep.
And for a certain time, we weren't allowed to get higher education till we created our own universities. And now if you look at it, you see more and more people trying to devalue education and say how going to college wasn't worth it for me, it wasn't this and that. And so now that narrative starting to push people away from feeling like they got to go to school. Education keeps people ignorant and blind.
Absolutely.
And, if you don't have it. And so don't let people drag you into that space, cherish that. But for my wrap up today, it's more of a question. Are you ready? And have you been putting the time in for everything that you've asked for for everything you said that you wanted, for those times you looked and said, hey, if I had that opportunity, so and so, I would do this and that with it. Between the time that you asked God for it and the time that has come, what have you done to prepare yourself for it? Are you ready? And are you truly sure that you're prepared? Right? And so those are questions I want you to ask yourself. Sit with that, right? Are you ready? And are you prepared for when it comes?
I love that. Oh my God, I'm thinking in my head, like, am I ready?
To put some pressure.
Yeah, like I'm actually thinking about myself. My post-game wrap-up would be something I always kind of say to my clients is do more things that make you not check your phone. It's so crazy how much our devices are stuck to our hands without us knowing it. We've been sitting here talking, and I respect you guys so much. But do you see that we have a problem? Yeah. I haven't touched my phone once.
Well, I was
not because
kind of geared to
not because of like pushing anything against you guys, but like if I'm not in the space, I'm on my phone. I'm doing work. I'm doing something like. But it's like I had to be like Anisa when you're present, and I had to teach myself like when you're present in something, stick to it. So do more things that make you not check your phone. And the reason why I say that is the amount of times we spend on our devices goes by without a thought, without a single thought. Like we've been on Instagram and scrolling for 30 minutes, an hour goes by. Forget TikTok, forget all these things. But when you start to be like, okay, let me do things that make me not check my phone. You're playing a game. You're like a sport. So go shoot some hoops. You're going for a walk. You're in the gym. You're going to the beach. You're doing things. And before you know it, you forget your phone. So that's my thing, is try to do more things that make you not check your phone.
Man, I think that's a perfect segue there too. Man, BTG Nation, you guys know what it is. I think that's episode 19 too. I didn't even break that in. Episode 19. Hoop Mountain Dubai, you guys know where to find us. hoopmountain.ae, Hoop Mountain DXB on Instagram. Check in. We have apparel dropping. The Hoop Mountain Family Collection is here. And for certain places, we might do worldwide shipping. We might not. I don't know. But everybody that's in the UAE, you can pull up on us. All of our locations and our events, I'll have them hand to hand. Special little treat when you purchase. We have them for everybody. Yes. Everybody. These designs are not just for people in the Hoop Mountain family. It's really fire. You know, I've seen what you guys wear with them other places. We gave you something that's a little bit different, so you'll stand out. And they're limited edition as well. So you guys know how we end it. Keep it real, keep it simple, and keep going.
Player and coach, the brother to brother. They both got views that you need to discover. From sports, current events to just life talk. Whether you on a fast break or a nice walk, gotta tune in. You already know, G. This BTG Nation and you one of the homies. Just tune in. You already know, G. BTG Nation, the other ones in the nosebleeds.